Hi everyone, welcome back to Lunch Money Comics. My name is Mike, and today we're picking yet another indoor flea market. That's all to say. Cue money falling. Okay, I'm switching over to voiceover here because this place had the radio blasting really loud music that I don't own the rights to. So you can see here I found a couple of old Spectacular Spider-Mans. This one's number 10. It had the White Tiger, one of the White Tigers, and a couple other ones that were pretty good. And then I spotted this one. This is a Batman and Batgirl comic from 1971. It's got a Neil Adams cover. Kept looking through this pile. There wasn't much in here. There was one really cool sort of horror mag. This guy right here. Baron Werewolf's Haunted Library. It's not worth that much, but it had a really cool cover of the monster under the stairs. So I kind of passed on the two Spider-Man books. I liked them. They were neat, but they weren't keys or anything like that. But the Batman book, this was really cool. Like I said, a Neil Adams cover. They can go for some pretty good money in good condition. You can see here, though, this one's pretty beat up. Some color breaks in the corner, but it didn't look that bad in the bag. It had some like kind of childproof tape, so I didn't get to check it until later. But you got to look everywhere, and you can see here I found another box that was mostly junk. Yeah, mostly Copper Age junk. So I found this box here. It was mostly full of modern comic books, lots and lots of variant covers. Most of them were really, really cool, actually, and they would have looked great, like on the wall, for instance, behind where I sit. Especially this Batman one I pull out. This one's really, really cool looking. But all the prices on these were, $5 or $10. They were a little high. They were definitely more than what the comic books were worth. I did find this Cable 1. That's one of the miniseries there. I found a Spawn number 5. It was in pretty good shape, actually. I had definitely thought about it. Found this G.I. Joe number 100. Just a great cover in general. You see a Gambit 1 miniseries there. I have several of them, so I passed. And then there were a couple of these Green Lanterns, and I'm not a big DC guy. And again, these are modern books, but they had great covers. I wasn't really sure if they were worth anything or if they were special variants, so I put them off to the side here, but I ended up passing on them. And here's the back of the box. A lot of the same old, mostly variant covers. I've sped the footage up because you don't need to see every one of these books. Lots of great covers. There were a couple older ones like this Wolverine, but nothing really worth taking home. So you can see there are comic books pretty much everywhere here. You just need to look in every nook and cranny. So I found another couple of boxes. I'm speeding up the footage again because there's a whole bunch of Copper Age stuff, things that I wasn't familiar with at all, and I wasn't going to take the time to look up every single one of these comics to see if they had value, but you get the general gist of it. Comic books everywhere, but really difficult to find anything worth my time and money. Once again, keeping the voiceover going. I don't usually like doing voiceovers, but like I said, the radio was just incredibly loud in every single room, whether it was music or just like advertisements, and you don't need to listen to that while watching the video. Here you see a whole bunch of Conans, which I usually don't care much about. It was a Ravage 2099, which there's always a ton of those in every single Copper Age box. I'm not really big into Conan, but you'll actually see in a few minutes at the next place I come across a Conan that definitely did pique my interest. So, I only saw one comic book in there that I really wanted. It was that Batman and Batgirl from 1971 with the Neil Adams cover. It was listed as $8, and it actually was on sale, so I got it for $6, so that's a pretty good deal, I think. There's one other place I wanted to go to, and the good thing is that it's a pawn shop, and I don't have to go very far because here's the antique place I was just at, and there is the pawn shop. That works out. Switching to the voiceover once again, the owner handed me this box full of comic books, and right on the top were these sealed Return of the Jedi, still in the poly bag, and then I saw this Mickey Mouse magazine from 1940. I'm going to be talking about this book a lot moving forward in this video. Otherwise, the rest of the box had lots of old Archie, old Westerns, some Walt Disney comics, most of which I wasn't interested in, but I did put off to the side the Return of the Jedi comics and that Disney magazine I'm about to talk about. So yeah, that's pretty tough. There was some really good comics and magazines, and I actually pulled out some really good stuff, and he offered me a very, very, good price for all of them. It just comes down to how much work do I want to put in, to resell them, to list them. And most of those comic books, in fact, all of them that I would have picked out, I would not have held on to for my personal collection. They would have just been flips, and all of them involved a lot of work probably to flip them and get my money back. So I passed for now. You never know. Sometimes you just got to figure out, how much work is $1 worth. And in this case, I felt like it was a little too much work. So I'll see you back at the house and show you what I got. Okay, welcome home. Not the best day hunting for comic books. The antique consignment shop we were at, it had, 2 stories, had lots of vendors, and there were a lot of comic books sprinkled throughout both stories. But most of the stuff I found was, Copper Age stuff that didn't have much value. And truth be told, it seemed like things had been picked through because I'm one of the people who's picked through it. I found some decent comic books there in the past, but there was some new stuff that I was sort of surprised about. I did see some really cool, modern variant covers, which would look pretty good on the wall behind me, but nothing of too much value, except for one, and that is the Detective Comics 410, Batman and Batgirl. This is a Neil Adams cover. It's from 1971. Pretty cool. It was damaged, it has some color breaks right in the middle of the front cover. That bottom corner is some pretty good color breaks on this fold here. I couldn't really open it up. There was some really strong childproof tape in the back, and it was ruining the bag as I tried taking it off. So I didn't get a good look at the book. Once I got home and essentially cut the bag off, I realized, there's a little bit more damage, including, the bottom staple is detached from several of the center leaves. So all in all, it's not worth that much money. It's not in great condition. It's probably worth only a little bit more than I paid for it. I did get it for $6. There was a sale that vendor was having. I'm happy to have it. I'm not a big DC guy, but I do like old Silver Age, Bronze Age Batman specifically. It's a cool comic book. I'll hold on to it. Yes. But that's not the main story here. I went just next door afterwards where there is a, gold and silver sort of pawn shop type place. And I know the guy there. I've dealt with him many times. I've traded coins to him, sports cars to him. But he does have comics every once in a while. And he knows I like comics. So last week I actually was in there and he said, "Hey, I have a new box of comics. Why don't you take a look?" And so I did. I went in and I was actually in a real rush. I was kind of running late for another engagement. I wasn't expecting to dig through a whole box of comics. And I found some really good old Marvel comic books, which I'll have to save for another video. I was pretty excited about them. He wanted me to buy the whole box. I really just wanted what I wanted. So we made an arrangement. I got the comics I wanted and left. But I remembered seeing a couple of comic books in that box I wanted to revisit, including that Jiminy Cricket cover 1940 Disney magazine. So I had that one specifically in mind when I walked in there. And right away, he handed me this box of comic books. He knew what I was there for. And right on top were these Return of the Jedi comics. Now, these were a limited series, 1 through 4 from 1983. They were still in the poly bag. And Star Wars comics are really hot right now. I was definitely interested, so I put them off to the side. There was also this Conan the Barbarian king-size #1. Like I said before, I'm not really interested in Conan that much, but it was in such great condition I couldn't pass it up. There was also this Weird Western Tales #18 with Jonah Hex. Evidently, it was his first solo story. Thought that was pretty good. And finally, I found a couple of Westerns that were in good shape. I don't really care about Westerns, but I'm actually seeing a guy in a few weeks at a flea market that specializes in them, and I was hoping to use him as trade bait. But by far the most interesting book in the box was this Mickey Mouse magazine from February of 1940, Volume 5, Number 5. So I actually looked up the value of that magazine on the spot. I checked eBay and found 2 listings of that exact same magazine, and they were selling for hundreds of dollars. As a matter of fact, most of these Mickey Mouse magazines from that era sell for hundreds of dollars. I checked these recently sold listings to see if I could find an example of that actually selling, and I could find one. It was actually a CGC graded 3.5 that sold a few weeks ago, and it sold for $325. Exciting, right? The problem is the magazine I was holding was at best a 1, maybe a 1.5, maybe we'll say 2 if we're being really, really ambitious here, and it was not graded. So based on what I was looking at, I was guessing this comic book was worth about $100. On top of that, the Star Wars comics I saw were worth probably about $35 to $40. The Jonah Hex could be worth, around $20. The Conan was about $15, and those Western comics were just throw-ins. I wasn't really valuing them very high at all. So I put them all off to the side, and I asked the guy there how much he'd sell them for, and he looked them up on the spot as well, and, came up with his own determination of what they were worth, and he gave me an offer of $100. Now, I did some quick math and realized the value of these comic books, conservatively, if I was to sell them on eBay, was probably somewhere around $170. But here's the thing. If I had actually sold those on eBay, I actually purchased these, took all the pictures, put them on there, you have to start thinking about all the other overhead costs. eBay charges a 13% fee on all of their sales. Furthermore, even if you have the seller paying for shipping, you still need to provide, the materials, the comic mailers, the boxes, the bubble wrap, things like that. So if you take away the 13% of the 170 I was sort of figuring out, it ends up being about, 148. Now supplies and stuff, you're down to about 140. So basically I would spend $100 to make 140. Kind of seems good, but not really. I mean, think about the amount of work that would go into that, right? All the time and effort I'd have to put into selling those, because remember, none of these comic books I'd want for my collection. These are comic books that I would try to flip, and if you can't flip them quickly, and I didn't expect to flip these quickly, it's not really worth it. Furthermore, I have several flea markets coming up in the next couple of weeks. I think I have 4 of them coming up, and I've always found that I never really regret the money I didn't spend, but I have regretted money that I've spent. So if I find myself in a situation where I can buy a really good comic book for $100, I'm going to be happy that I still have that $100 bill in my pocket instead of trying to reinvest it and having that money locked up in a whole bunch of comic books I'm only hoping to sell on eBay. So that's why I didn't buy these. I passed on them. I told him he should put them up for eBay right now. He could probably get $100 just for the Jiminy Cricket magazine, and he was appreciative of that, I think. I was just being completely honest and truthful, no stealth buys or anything like that. That being said, I want to know what you guys think. Should I have bought those books with the intent of trying to flip them? Is it worth spending $100 to make maybe $40, $50, $60 on them? I don't know. I'm deferring to all of you. Please, let me know in the comments what you would have done in that same situation. And while you're at it, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel if you like this sort of content. And I promise, over the next couple weeks, I'm going to have some fantastic content for you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to no less than 4 flea markets over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be bringing a lot of cash, and I'm going to be looking for some really, really good, rare comic book keys, and hopefully I have some really good stuff to show you guys. So make sure you like this video and subscribe so that you don't miss any of those videos as soon as they post. In the meantime, this has been Lunch Money Comics. Hope to see you guys next time, and keep on hunting.